the PC as usual. I did want to start exactly at 5 p.m, but I'm a bit late starting because I started playing Mafia: The Old Country. And it's quite good, but because it's a very cinematic style game, it's one of those annoying games where if you want to like quit partway through a mission, it's a bit of a ball ache to do it. So I had to get to the end of the mission I was doing before I could really quit. So that's why I'm just going to do it on the phone today. I'm not bothering to do a stream to YouTube and Kick at the same time. I'm just doing a standard phone stream because, again, at least with a phone as well, I can stream for over an hour and it doesn't get too warm. The problem with the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, as much as it's much better video and microphone quality, between an hour and 2 hours, like 2 hours max, it gets too hot and wants to auto shut down because it's overheating. So it's not really designed to be used for filming like that long in one go. So although it can do a webcam mode on there, it's kind of, overheats if you're doing it. So yeah, for this video, I thought for this stream, I'll just do a, standard, one. Standard mobile phone stream. So say hello to everybody when you get on. I've made a coffee. I'm just going to stir it. All right, Brown Streak, good to see you. I slipped with my M4 bayonet earlier because I was sharpening that like as a fidget thing, sharpening it. And again, it's very, very sharp. Slipped while I was sharpening it and got my finger like that. And because it's nice and sharp, it was a very good, clean cut that plastered up absolutely fine. But yeah, it's stupidly sharp now, which is nice because obviously, because it's a stiletto style blade on this, it's one of the bayonets that's designed to actually be kind of like a fighting knife as opposed to just a bayonet, this one. So yeah, I was sharpening it up kind of like a fidget thing, just as something to do. And yeah, somehow my hand slipped while I was doing it and just went like that across my finger there. Didn't even hurt really. Very, very mild sting to it, but it was, like I said, a very clean cut, and it's got blood on my trousers now. So I'm not trying to show people my dick, but hang on, if this works. Again, it's more rust coloured now. Don't know how visible that is. There's a couple of bits there, bit of blood there. So yeah. But like I said, it was one of those funny cuts where didn't really even hurt at all because the blade was so sharp. But obviously, I managed to nick myself quite well with it. But it doesn't mean the blade's as sharp as I want it. Which is a good thing, because again, if you can cut yourself really easily by accident and barely notice it, it does mean you've got the blade to a good sharpness. And I was just doing that again with a little pocket sharpener, because once you've got a good edge on it, you can just sort of keep honing them up with that. And then I was trying cutting some like plastic and things with it, and it was actually cutting through plastic card quite well, which means you've got normally good sharpness. So and not many people have watched the video I did earlier today, just to tell people it's on there, the grenade one. Because I actually went to a fucking load of effort for the thumbnail of that one, and funnily enough, with a clickbaity thumbnail, less people are clicking on it than most of my normal videos. So don't know what that says really, because like I said, I'd rather not make clickbait thumbnails, but the problem is with YouTube is you're kind of required to, and then it's just a weird thing that when I did make a clickbait style thumbnail, less people have watched it, so I don't know what that says. But again, it might be because YouTube's not sent it out to many people properly yet, and then when... Because again, the video I've got on the bar mace doesn't have a very good thumbnail at all. The bar mace video, for the thumbnail, is literally me holding it in front of me like that. So it doesn't even look as good as that on the camera, because it would look to the camera a bit like that, the angle, where you can't even see it that well on the bar mace video. But even then, that thumbnail gets loads and loads of views. So yeah, sometimes it's a bit weird with YouTube, like what it promotes to people and what they click on. But yeah, so we'll put it around the right way. So the fat heavy end is facing down, and the handle end is facing up. So in the UK at the moment, I'll do pop-out chat. Make sure it's on live chat and then pop-out chat. Keir Starmer is refusing to go. And Sack Sniffer says, I'm going to buy a PPM 21 soon. Do you think it's good in comparison to a Russian gas mask? I have to remind myself which one the PPM 21 is. 1 second. PPM 21 gas mask. Is that the GP 21? because I've got the I've got the PPM88, which is the GP9, and there's the GP21, which is the PMK5. So which one? Again, I'm not really getting any results for the mask you've said, so I'm assuming it's got a slightly different name than what you've given it. This is an interesting mask that's come up. What's this? Oh, it's a Myra one, but again, not actually a Myra mask. It's one of the Czech masks that Myra resells, probably at a stupid price. That's randomly come up when you said about that. GP21. Okay, 1 second. Let me get that up. GP21 gas mask. So I don't personally have one of those, but it does look pretty good looking at it. Again, I don't know how comfortable it will be in all the straps and things like that. Because, but again, if it's a PMK4 style face piece, it should be comfortable in that regard that the PMK4 and the PMKS are pretty comfortable. I was looking up a bit more info about it now. So yeah, it's basically a PMK5 spin-off mask. And again, I've done a video on the PMK4/PMKS, but I don't know how the PMK5 compares. But the PMK4 is actually good. I like the PMK4. So yeah, it's probably quite good in all honesty. But like I said, I can't really comment because I don't have one. Now that sounds good, Brown Streak. And all right, Rich. So I was just saying to people, when I first came on, needed to plaster my finger up, and I've got blood on my trousers, even though they were fresh on today, because when I was sharpening one of my knives, I slipped. But the good news is I've got it so sharp now that I barely even felt the cut, but it was spewing out blood. But yeah, it was because I just slipped and I was like pulling it through a whetstone over and over, and I guess I had my finger like here somehow when I was holding it. Again, I'm not really sure how I managed that. Probably had it weirdly in my hand like that, but that's a really unnatural way to hold it. It wasn't like with my thumb there again, so I'm trying to figure out how I even did that, because I got it on this bit of the finger there. But yeah, I can't even figure out how I actually cut it at that angle now. But yeah, regardless, I slipped when I was sharpening up my M4 knife. But like I said, it's a nice sharp knife, so it made a very clean cut that was easy to clean and like plaster. So that's good, because again, the worst cuts I've ever had have been from like really jagged ceramics, where they go quite deep and ceramic cuts you really easily, but you know, it doesn't make a clean cut that you can stop bleeding easily. But again, there's the weird thing where some of the nastiest cuts I've had have been ones that have been like not painful and vice versa, and then you know you can get a really painful cut that heals up absolutely fine. Yeah, it sounds good. Like I said, I don't know too much about them in all honesty. Like I said, somebody did bring it up on one of the streams, but yeah, one of the guns I quite like the look of, but again, I'm in the UK, so I couldn't own one. Is it Caltech that do the weird 5.7, but it has the internal mag where you load the 5.7 rounds in via clip. But I thought that was pretty cool. The like fives, like, so because I really like the FN 5.7, and it's designed to be like a cheaper one where basically you can't quickly reload it, but it's got like a Mauser C96 style internal mag. Yeah, it uses stripper clips. Yeah, so yeah, you like put 2 stripper clips worth of 5.7 or whatever in the top of it, and it's designed, I guess, because you'd never really, in most scenarios, if you were carrying it as an EDC gun, probably need more than 20 rounds as a civilian. Yeah, I really like the look of that. Again, sadly, I'm in the UK, so can't own one. Yeah, again, I do want to go to the US. I'd need to save up for it. With Trump's current visa stuff, I'd need to make sure on my social media I haven't said anything bad about Trump for a while before I visit, because apparently they want to look through your phones to see if you've shit-talked Trump and then deny you entry. And again, I don't mind Trump that much, but I do like taking the piss out of him. But, you know, if Joe Biden had a second term, or Kamala Harris, I'd be even more brutal on that. But Yeah, again, Kevin, I don't really know because I've never shot one or handled one. But yeah, so that was, like I said, that was the funny thing. I still can't quite work out how I managed to slip and do that, but that's all right. What else was I going to say? So yeah, in the UK, on the UK news today, Keir Starmer is basically says he's taking the country with him, like in a murder-suicide. So he didn't say that, but I'm going to translate that from it, because he says, "I will never walk away," says PM after facing pressure to quit. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has said he will never walk away from the country that I love after surviving a day of political jeopardy which saw the Scottish Labour leader call for his resignation. "I will never give up on that fight." So basically he's saying, I'm going to murder-suicide the country. Let's end this together. Yeah, he will never walk away from the country that you love. Well, you don't love this country. You fucking hate it because you're destroying it. And you're such a retard that you can't see that you're doing it. Again, with Starmer, I don't know how much of it is down to the fact he's evil and how much is down to the fact he's so delusional he doesn't realise he's fucking everything up. But, yeah, again, that man can't go a day without pissing me off. And all right, Sherlock Homeless. That's probably not a subject I can bring up on YouTube. I did kind of get into an argument the other day, because weirdly in the UK, you'd think they'd be much stricter on the 3D printed stuff. But although it's kind of thing you're probably not allowed to have certain... it wouldn't be PDF, whatever files that, you know, are for printing gun parts, would probably be very banned over here. But, you know, I had a guy in the comments that when I said about them banning, you know, like, don't let them come for your guns in America, he was going, "Oh, they can't ever ban guns because we can just 3D print them." And then I posted about how, I think it's in Washington, there, or I can't remember if it's like legislation they're coming up with in Washington, D.C., or it's Washington State. They were bringing up about, you know, like trying to heavily restrict 3D printer use. So I was like, they are trying to stop it. And he just didn't get the point. He's like, "Well, just break the law then." It's like, oh, great. I'm not having you saying that sort of stuff in my video comments. As much as, you know, I kind of understand the people, it's like, you know, become ungovernable. I can't let you just say in the comments, like, "Oh, here's how you can break the law in all these countries, and I'm going to give you advice how to do it." But again, I was like saying, it's in the US, you're actually having more legislation done against 3D printers in the UK, which is kind of bizarre to me. But again, it's probably the ATF. They want another excuse to shoot people's dogs. "Oh, do you own a 3D printer? Say goodbye to Fido." And yet, thanks, Welsh Mafia. Like I said, it's the Hugo Stahlhelm. The reason I like this is, again, it's sometimes hard to see this on video, but this is fundamentally a German Stahlhelm with like a bit of a slight profile difference, but it is a Stahlhelm if you see it from the right angle. It's just basically, it's kind of like partway between an East German M56 and partway between a German World War II Stahlhelm. It's closer to the German Stahlhelms of World War II than the East German one, even though the East German one is kind of a World War II design. But it's but yeah, it's still technically a Stahlhelm how they've designed it. But the reason I quite like this one, as I said, is because the reason I like this one is that obviously it's got the quite good sort of quick adjust chin strap. So if you want to put a gas mask on, you fully loosen it. You obviously put the mask on that, then you tighten it. It's not one of those, you know, helmets where it's got a very slow to adjust chin strap. You can just do it like that. And we've got somebody spamming the chat, so I'll get rid of them. And I'll read the person who has the broken source texture thing in a moment. He said, "Here in Hungary, it's actually pretty easy to own a gun, yet we don't have much gun crime since you need to actually have a reason to have it. 90% of the time, it's for hunting or sport shooting." Somebody was saying a weird thing to me, and again, if they're in the chat, they can explain it. But apparently they were saying I think it was the Czech Republic, it's easier to own a gun and state you want it for self-defense than it is to say you want it for sport shooting. Again, it depends. This is NHI, and I'll try and read them out. So if I don't read it out, you'll know it hasn't gone through. But again, YouTube likes to shadow ban a lot of comments to do with guns and things like that. But yeah, some guy was saying to me that in the Czech Republic, I think it was Czechia, it's actually easier when you apply for a gun license to say, I want the gun to defend myself than it is to say I want it for sport shooting. Because apparently if you say you want it for sport shooting, they want to know what club you go to, how often you go there and all that. Whereas if you say I want a gun for self-defense, they don't really question the gun application, which seems a really weird thing to me. I mean, it's good that you can get guns like that in the Czech Republic or wherever it was that the commenter was from, but I just thought that was weird. Because in most countries, you have to come up with all the excuses like hunting or sport shooting. Although I know the Czechs, didn't they, had a problem, like, was it a couple of years ago they had a mass shooting in Prague or somewhere? And that potentially is going to make their gun laws look worse because all the politicians suddenly did the thing like they did in the UK of, oh no, somebody, even though people have had guns for decades here, we've had one mass shooting, so now we need to make guns worse for everybody. Yeah, exactly. So you could own it for a sports kind of thing or hunting, and then, yeah, you've got it as the other option. Oh, that was you. Okay, thank you, Sherlock Holmes. So, yeah, you can explain it better. Yeah, it's just weird to me that, you know, in say Czechia, because again, I never sure if it's meant to be called Czech Republic or Czechia. So if you say Czechia, I'll just say Czechia. But yeah, it seems weird to me that, and again, that's good for you if that's the case in your country. But it just seems weird to me because in like everywhere else I know that's not the US, it's very rare that self-defense is allowed as a reason, even if you could still, you know, use it in self-defense. So, you know, you have to basically join a club or whatever else. It is a thing. Yeah, you get, like I said, I like the Yugo helmet. Again, it would get perforated pretty easily by anything, you know, that's a hot 9mm or 45 round, or any, you know, thing like 7.62 Tokarev or 5.7 or whatever would punch through it easy because it is quite a thin steel helmet. But I just like the liner in this one and the chin strap because it's very basic but works. Yeah, see, that's the interesting thing. All right, Rajiv, and hello to anybody. Sorry if I missed your things. But yeah, speaking about Poland, just for the people that are on about Poland, I want to do a range day in Poland because I have got, and again, sadly, I cannot show it on the stream, even though I can show it in regular videos, obviously. I've got the PM63 that's deactivated, and I really like the rack. It's such a weird little gun. You know, the rack being the sort of select fire little machine pistol thing, but it's got the giant slide that comes back on it as opposed to being like an Uzi or whatever with the bolt moving inside. It's actually got the full on, so it's like just an oversized pistol. It kind of looks like we have MP7 at home, the PM63, but it came out before the MP7. But it's got that like same like folding foregrip and everything on it, and like it's got the wire stock that comes out. But yeah, because that's one of the ones you can shoot on, like, you know, shooting days in Poland. Again, it's one of those, it's the typical bloody thing that whenever I've been to a country where there's gun ranges that you can go to quite easily, I've never known about it at the time. I've only found out later on where people go like, oh, did you go shooting there at one of the gun ranges? I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, that's interesting. Again, it's going to depend on the core of the round and everything, isn't it, Dev? But like I'm saying is, I imagine a decent steel cored round would go through. But like I said, there's much better helmets than this available. It's just I quite like this one because it's Stauhelm shaped, because it is, you know, is a derivative of the Stauhelm. Because Yugoslavia was weird that after World War II, as much as their country had a lot of bad history with the Germans and that and the Croatian Ustasi or whatever it was during World War II, a lot of Yugoslavia's like stuff during the Cold War was German World War II stuff or German World War II derived. They had a bit of Soviet stuff, but they had lots of like MG42 equivalents and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to blow up a water buffalo with an RPG. Seems a bit unfair. I've also seen horrible videos of RPGs blowing up and killing the shooters in countries like that where they aren't well maintained. I saw a video of a guy literally having his head taken off by an RPG-7, where he goes to shoot it, and then obviously like the actual barrel ruptures where his head is, and just bang, his head's gone. I mean, it'd be very quick at least. Again, can't you eat a water buffalo? You probably wouldn't get much meat out of it if you blew it up with an RPG-7. Yeah, and that's the thing, John. Though I'm not shit talking this helmet. I'm just sort of saying that. Yeah, that's why I was saying 9mm and 45 ACP, because you'd be surprised how many of the steel helmets can stop at least certain types of 9mm and 45. Because again, I imagine if you shoot them from a long enough barrel with the right kind of 9mm or 45 round, they will pen a steel helmet. because, you know, again, but because it's normally, isn't it, 7.62 Tokarev is where it's kind of, if your helmet can stop Tokarev rounds, it's a pretty good helmet, because most helmets can't stop Tokarev rounds. And it's, again, like, later generation Kevlar helmets could stop Tokarev. And again, ultra high molecular weight polyethylene helmets can very easily stop Tokarev, but you're going to get quite a bit of back face deformation. But yeah, just in general, yeah, like I said. But again, like I was saying, that's the thing, is the amount, the survivability that went up in World War One of simply having a steel helmet, you know, mostly just from shrapnel. But again, you can get a lucky rifle deflection off of it, even though it won't stop a rifle round from penetrating. If it hits you at the right angle, that would have killed you if it was in your skull. But, you know, through the helmet, it sometimes can cause enough of a deflection that the round doesn't hit your head full force. Yeah, exactly, Sherlock. It's because, yeah, 7.62 by 25mm, so you've got more propellant behind the case, and you've got a steel round. So you've got that combination of it being quite high velocity with, yeah, steel, which is lighter than lead. So it's traveling faster than most conventional, like, you know, pistol rounds. And then the steel isn't going to deform as much as it penetrates. Yeah, again, that's the thing, like I said, is any, you know, like I said, I keep saying this to people when they bring it up. It's like, if I was in a situation where there was rounds flying around and a lot of shrapnel and rocks from stuff, any steel helmet I would rather have than nothing. Like, obviously, much more modern combat helmets are way better. But again, most World War II steel helmets were fairly damn good. You know, like, again, like, your survival odds would go up massively if you had a steel helmet on than if you didn't. And again, like I said, it's the weird thing that they're learning again from Ukraine, is where during a global war on terror, you know, everything went to like the lightweight plate carriers that were very good in a hot environment to wear for a long time, but you only really had a plate, you know, covering that bit of your chest and that bit of your back. They seem to want to go back to full-on like Pasket style stuff with reinforcing plates. You know, have a full-on flak vest with flak vest with you know, a plate in it, a bit like the British DCBA or like you know, any of the other vests that do that. Because again, it's what Ukraine's treating people, you know, people are learning, where there's lots of artillery and all the drones and the shrapnel from that. Again, you're not going to survive a drone directly hitting you, but if it goes off near you or a grenade drop goes off near you, you know, a full-on Kevlar vest with a steel or ceramic plate over your vital organs is a hell of a lot better than just a lightweight plate carrier. But again, it's kind of that funny thing with, you know, military stuff, where you start going in one direction because of a single conflict, and then another war comes up and you realize that, yeah, the traditional thought was probably better. Oh, you got it, did you, Visa? And how good is it? Because oh, and I've typically been PM'd again by somebody during the stream, right? I'm not going to send a shitty response today. I am just going to politely tell them that I am streaming and I will reply later. But like I said, nobody's PM me all day today. 20 minutes into a live stream, 2 questions, like ding. It's not the same person that did it yesterday. They've apologized and said they won't PM me during the stream. I'm just going to say, streaming currently, will reply later. You haven't put it together. But yeah, like I said, modern steel helmets are probably fairly good. Like I said, there is something I like about steel helmets. So, again, with steel helmets, it's a couple of factors, isn't it? It's the quality of the steel, because that's a massive thing in steel helmets. That, you know, there are steel helmets with shitter quality steel. Because again, this is the funny thing, where everybody likes a German World War II Stahlhelms, but apparently it's only the M35 Stahlhelms that were really good. Like the World War I ones were fine as well. But apparently the problem was during World War II that as the war went on, Germany's steel quality went down and down and down on the helmets because they needed the steel for other things. So apparently, you know, like the M42s or whatever it is, you know, are much more likely that you'll get, you know, killed by something that the M35 would stop because of the lower quality steel that's likely to crack or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's got just like a little buckle on each side that you pull. It's a bit like, you know, a gas mask, you know, modern gas mask straps, how you tighten and loosen those. So yeah, like I said, if I get a gas mask handy, I'm just going to have some of my coffee while that's still at a good temperature. So yeah, this might be difficult with this mask. Let's try it. Oh, how if I take my glasses off first? Right, can I loop that under the filter? Oh yeah, just about. Then I can pull it tight again. And yeah, you can get the like I said, it on with quite a lot of masks that way, because you can just quickly adjust it and do it. And then yeah, oops, that's going down. And then like yeah, as soon as you take the helmet off again, you can quickly just do that, and or the gas mask off, sorry, and you can quickly readjust it for conventional Prince Albert in a can, or what? Right, what did I miss? Again, Hungarian M38, so they the Stahlhelm looking one. Hang on, because I think I've had one of those before. Or was it a Bulgarian helmet I had before? I'm trying to remember. No, I think it must have been a Bulgarian one I had before that was similar to that Hungarian one. So yeah, so the Hungarian M38 is basically a World War II Stahlhelm. I don't actually know. I don't know the steel quality. Again, this is the funny thing, is apparently, like, say, a lot of the Spanish steel helmets that they made, because Spain still used Stahlhelms during a lot of the Cold War, because, you know, Franco. Apparently, like, the Spanish steel helmets are absolutely fine as well. Again, one of the World War II helmets that's really fucking nice for when it was built is the Italian M33. So I was amazed when I got an Italian M33 that it's a helmet designed in the early 1930s, and it's basically perfect. You know, it's a bit of a bowl shape on the M33. But yeah, if you look up the Italian M33, it's very similar to the helmet, a bit like one of the Soviet ones. In a couple of films, I've seen M33s be used in for stand-ins of some of the Soviet helmets. But yeah, the Italian M33 is like quite a good quality steel, you know, like decently thick. It's got that sort of profile where it's lowest by your ears, but then it goes up at the front for the brims, you know, like this one does. But also at the back, it goes up a bit, so, you know, you can lift your head up like that and it's not going to bump into a rucksack. So yeah, like I said, the Italian M33 is like one of those weirdly good World War II helmets as well. Yeah, again, like I said, with the Finnish helmets, were they made in Finland under license, or were they ones bought from Germany, or like donated by Germany? I like tea as well, Devon, but coffee is better for me when I just want to have a bit of a kick. I've got some energy drinks as well. Or light helmet. Let me look it up. I don't think I have, because I don't know the name. The only thing that's coming up for All-Light helmet is something called Feed the Beast. So I assume that isn't what you meant. Yeah, like I said, I was surprised when I got the M33 of like how good the general shape of it was. Because again, where the British Mark VI was being brought up by Devon, the reason the Mark VI... So again, I'll take this off to go into the whole thing of the Mark VI, because the Mark VI is funny. So... it's not funny if you're a soldier issued it. So Britain had the Mark III, Mark IV, and there's the Mark V, but it's quite rare. But the Mark V is just a slightly different Mark IV. I think it's just a different liner in it. And they were just steel helmets. Basically, it was a design that came about in World War II to replace the Mark I, Mark II Brodie style helmet. So it's a bit more, a bit more of a bowl-shaped helmet. And the Mark V helmet, when it was first introduced, Mark VI, was ballistic nylon. And I think this was because the US went to Pasca at the time, so they had the Kevlar vests and the Kevlar helmets. Britain had the ballistic nylon Northern Ireland flak jackets, which are actually really good at saving soldiers' lives. So I'm assuming the problem was that they said ballistic nylon works in a flak jacket, this will be better than steel, like a thin bit of steel for a helmet. So let's make these helmets. Yeah, I'll get to the Mark 6A in a second. Like, so the Mark 6 will be a really good helmet. But I'm guessing because of how thick the ballistic nylon had to be, and the fact it can't move when it's in a helmet, it's, you know, like rigid. Whereas when it's in a flak vest, obviously the vest can ripple around when stuff hits it, which, you know, absorbs some of the force of something penetrating. The Mark 6 is actually absolutely bollocks. So it's actually, the Mark 6 is good as a hard hat, like, but it's more like a bump helmet rather than the proper military helmet. So stuff like 9mm and 45 rounds, the Mark 3, Mark 4, and Mark 5 helmets would stop, but the standard Mark 6, they would go through the front and the back of it. So the Mark 6A was like the stopgap emergency one, done around the time of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. And you can tell the difference because the Mark 6s are like a dark green color. The Mark 6A is black. And they were made black specifically so they could quickly differentiate which type of Mark 6 helmet it was. And the Mark 6A, they made out of Kevlar, so they did actually, you know, do the job of stopping things that, you know, the Mark 6 standard wouldn't stop at all. So, you know, pistol rounds would be stopped by it and shrapnel would be stopped by it more efficiently. But the problem was with the Mark 6 helmet was that apparently because of the shape of it, and again, I've not used it, you know, with all the armor on like the soldiers did, but apparently part of the problem was that if you put your head back slightly while you had a rucksack on and you were trying to get an L85's rifle picture up, it would cause the helmet to like hit the back of your thing and then pitch down, like, and get in the way of your eyes. So that's why then the Mark 7 helmet, I'll get the Mark 7 helmet down. I've got that right there. That's an East German hat. Oh, bollocks. Oh, wait, no, that didn't all fall over. There we go. So that's why the Mark 7 helmet has this sort of shape to it, because they've specifically shaped the helmet so that wouldn't be a problem like it was with the Mark 6. So the Mark 7 is really good. But it didn't last that long in service, not because there were any problems with the helmet. It was just around the time this got introduced, within a couple of years, Britain bought the rights to get basically, was it the ECH? Let me look. Oh, somebody else has now PM'd me. Of course they have. But yeah, so yeah, so the Mark 7 was actually a really good helmet, and there's a couple of them. There's one in Bovington Tank Museum, which is one of the ones that stopped around and saved the soldier's life from a 7.62x39. But yeah, so like the Mark 6, Mark 7 helmet, yeah, it's got a much better shape to it, and like I said, it always reminds me of a vehicle crewman's helmet, this one, but it's not really designed for that. I think it's just because it's got quite a wide thing here, so you can have comms or ear protection under it. But yeah, it's a fairly comfortable helmet. It saved quite a lot of people that would otherwise died if they'd had an older Mark 6 helmet or whatever, even a Mark 6A, just because again the shape of it. But that's one of the good things of like quite a bulky bowl-shaped helmet, is the probability that something hits it and deflects is much higher than if it was just a you know, standard quite thin sort of not as bowl-shaped helmet, if that makes sense. Anyway, let me look at the thing. So the all-light helmet is OR201. Let me look up that then. OR201 helmet. And again, if I miss any of these things, okay, yeah, I'm looking that up. So that's an Israeli helmet. Again, that looks kind of like the British Mark 6, that helmet. Yeah, that looks weirdly the Israeli helmet, like Mark 6. But again, you don't see those very often. I suppose it's because even when the IDF troops are wearing it, they probably have those things on them, don't they, that breaks the shape up of the helmet, like those weird, like, kind of looking the latest war it's been used in is Gaza War. Is this? Yeah, this is one from the 7th of October 2023. So yeah, that's still in use then, that helmet. Yeah, I'm assuming if it's made out of like Kevlar and it's that sort of shape, it would work well. But like I said, I've never got my hands on one. But that is kind of very similar looking. I'm just going to get a picture comparison up of them. Mark 6 helmet. That does look very similar in shape to the Mark 6. I'm just trying to get like a mannequin head or a person wearing it around the same way. Yeah, it's, again, the Israeli one has a slightly better cut to it because the Israeli one is shaped a bit more like this at the front, whereas the British Mark 6 is kind of just a direct line like that. But yeah, it does remind me a lot of the Mark 6 helmet, saying that way. It's kind of like got the Mark 7's sort of front bit like that, but otherwise looks like a Mark 6 helmet. But again, like I said, the Mark 6 would have been fine if they made it out of Kevlar to begin with, but it's just they didn't. Put on GP5. Don't spam, I'll put on GP5. We'll find out if a GP5 works with this helmet, shall we? Let me just finish my coffee first though, because I don't want, my coffee's already going cold, so right. I'll put the Shum 2012 on because that's basically a GP5 again, because that's right here. Yeah, that actually works for this. Yeah, that sits fine. Again, you wouldn't really be able to do the chin strap up, I don't think, with a mask on like this. I'll just try it. Gee, you might be able to. Okay, you can do the chin strap up, so there you go. This actually works quite well, the Mark 6 helmet with a GP5 style helmet mask. Potentially Y3, if I think of a good thing to do it on, I'll do one. Right, I'll just put my glasses back on, because again, the only problem is when I've got a mask on like that, if it's not my current mask, the C50, with because again, when I've got the C50 on with my glasses on underneath, because I've got those, you know, glasses inserts that work properly with it, when I've got that on, I can actually read comments in the chat properly. But obviously, when I've got a mask on, I can't wear my glasses on. My short-sightedness means the text's too small. And yes, I know I can make the text bigger on screen, but then it screws up the YouTube window formatting size. But yeah, like I said, Mark 6 helmet I like a lot. Obviously, it's been replaced now by... Yeah. I'll go get it. Hang on a second. Like I said, it's been replaced by this absolutely excellent helmet. Like I said, I was a bit annoyed when this helmet replaced the Mark 7 until I got one, because I thought, oh, we've just bought an American helmet because, you know, buying American stuff for the sake of buying American stuff. Pinch my chin now again. But yeah, this is actually quite a good helmet, this one, because obviously it's got a good chin strap system. It's the thing I really like on it is it's got that quick adjust kind of like bike helmet style fastening thing on the back. Actually comes with a proper what do you call it thing built on, like a rhino mount built onto the helmet rather than it being an afterthought, so you can put your nods up and down. In Britain it's called the Virtus helmet. Essentially, let me look up which one it is, but so I've got a short coming out because one of my mates brought over his US National Guard helmet, which was an ACH, so it's an ECH because the ACH is being replaced by the ECH. So I believe the company that makes it, it's basically where Britain bought the rights for an ECH. It's not polycarbonate, it's ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, so it's polyethylene, not polycarbonate. Polycarbonate is like what gas mask lenses are made out of. Polyethylene is like what chopping boards are made out of. So yeah, if you watch the video that guy's channel that got brought up earlier, I've forgotten his name. The guy who does all the videos on helmets. Somebody will know the guy I'm on about. Yeah, that's what I've heard the same thing, Devin, that some of the some of the Virtus equipment with the Virtus upgrade program's a bit shit, and soldiers don't like it, but the helmets are genuinely fucking good. Because again, it's got the Stahlhelm kind of shape to it, that, you know, because obviously America's been using a Stahlhelm type shape since the Pasca, and then just changing it a bit each time. No, I don't have an AI2 medkit because you can't get the AI2 medkit with all the original bits in it in the UK because of rules on the narcotics and that inside it. And I haven't bothered buying an empty one or ones with like prop stuff in it. Again, if I have spare money at some point and I can find a seller that sells them for a reasonable price, even if all the bits aren't in it, I might get one. But most of the time, people have been selling those for stupidly overpriced amounts of money. No, I've not got the ear protection bits for it. I've got, like I said, I've got this. I've got the mandible and like eye shield bit, but obviously if you've got the eye shield on, you can't put the nod mount on it. And I'd much rather have nods mounted on this for the most part than I've got a short coming up testing this with a gas mask and this helmet and nods, and they all did work together properly. But yeah, it's got a good chin strap. Like I said, it's got a good fastening system. It works in most modern gas masks absolutely fine, this helmet, because it is spaced quite well with the liner that masks fit under it. And like I said, because it's ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, this helmet, it is in theory going to stop stuff that the Mark 7 wouldn't stop. But you will get more backface deformation if it stops it. That's the problem. Yeah, I've got the mandible, like I just said. I've got the mandible. I don't know where the mandible bit is. I did see it not too long ago, the mandible. But I saw it when I was looking for something else. So I think it might have been down in this corner. But I might have then moved it and I was like, oh, oh, there's one of my Finnish gas masks here. 1 second. I think this is the Finnish one, Pro mask. Yes, it's got a bit dusty, but it's the Scott M98, isn't it, this one? It's just the one I've got without the drinking tube. Let's just give that a quick test. Again, I've not got the filter handy. It has quite an interesting smell, this mask. This actually won't work with this helmet, this one, because it sort of does, but not quite. Because obviously that panoramic lens gets in the way of the top of the helmet. So I can fasten the helmet up like this, but it is sitting much higher on my head than it should be. So yeah, doesn't quite work with the Pro mask. Just take that off again, put that away before I lose it. That is, I do like the Scott Pro masks, or the whatever the other number is, because I've got this version of it, and I've got the version that has the drinking tube or whatever it is as well. Yeah, this is quite a nice mask. The only problem is, like, yeah, the clear colour nose cup they've made in them discolours. But again, I think this is a nicer mask than the GSR, personally, the Pro mask. At least it's more comfortable on my face. You go back in there. So I have to tidy you up later on. Right, put my glasses on so I can read the messages again. Well, yeah, the Mark 7 is much cheaper, but it doesn't have one of these built into it. You'd have to mount a Rhino mount. Don't have a PDF handy to show. Actually, there's one up there. Look, there you go. I've shown you a PDF. There you are. Look, there's a PDF. There you go. Happy now? Yeah, well, the Pasca, essentially all of these type of ones came from the Pasca, because the Pasca was just a modernized Stahlhelm shape. I have a feeling there are a couple of really cool looking Kevlar helmets I saw when I was like looking at ones various countries had, but I can't think what they all are now. But you know, I was like just looking at what every nation went to when they went to Kevlar helmets. Yeah, don't have any experience of that tent. Have a look, F2 tent. But our old tent that we still now and again use is, yeah, not much money, is it? 49 quid for one of those. It's probably a bit bigger than the tent we've got as well at home, that's in the attic that we use every now and then. But yeah, that F2 tent doesn't look bad. But yeah, like I said, we've got an absolutely ancient tent up in the attic. It still works fine. So yeah, you can fit 2 people in there, have a bit of space between them. So yeah, probably quite a similar size to our tent, but our tent's one of more those square ones where, you know, like you have the front bit of the tent, then you have like a little entry bit, and then you've got another zip up little door to the main bit. But yeah, that F2 one looks alright. Alright, I'm getting rid of the person that keeps spamming, because again, you keep saying, can you show this, can you show this? I said, look, there's the PDF. It's not going to fit me, the PDF, so I don't know. But yeah, let that be a lesson to people. Don't be just an annoying fucking spammer in the chat. Because you were doing, ooh, can you show GP5? And then I showed it, and then you didn't say thank you. You just immediately go, show something else, show something else. Just watch fucking videos if you want to see just the stuff. We're having a chat on here. So Kevin said the local shop has a greener police gun that some bubba converted to 30-40 crag. I would have bought if it was still in the original configuration. What's a greener police gun? I have to look that up. Oh, a Martini Henry shotgun. Okay, that is cool. Yeah, I like the look of that. That's a shame, but like you said, it got bubbered. I mean, if it was cheap enough and it was bubbered, I'd still probably want it. But all right, Tooth Fairy. But yeah, so what else is there to talk about? So like I said, Keir Starmer in the UK is clinging on, like I said, like an unwanted turd you can't flush away in the toilet. Because like I said, he's taking the country with him now. I will never walk away. I will never walk away from the country that I love. You do not love this country, Keir. You said before that, oh, I prefer Davos to Westminster. He's got a weird, like, looking face. I can't, like I said, I can't annoyingly share this thing, but if you go on this BBC page, look, and then scroll down to where his fucking the fucking video is of him in a car. Look at his face, like there. Maybe he's being sucked off by a rent boy. I can't tell. But like he's in the car, like, oh, I love this country so much, which is why I have to kill it. Well, at the moment, there's a whole thing where lots of the Labour Party want to get rid of Keir, but oh wait, we've got breaking UK news. Breaking UK news. Oh wait, this is a different one than before. Okay, I thought this was the same one as before, but Afghan asylum seeker guilty of raping girl aged 12. An Afghan asylum seeker has been found guilty of abducting and raping a 12-year-old girl in Nuneaton. See, I thought this was going to be the one that happened before, but no, this is a different one. So yeah, it's just a fucking another one. Look, you're racist if you notice things like this. So barbed wire rope. I think that's a good idea, but sadly, the political class will never fucking let us do what we need to do. Again, I know I'm saying stuff now that definitely is going to get my door kicked in. But yeah, these asylum seekers that we fucking have to pay to put up, and then they go and rape and murder. And oh no, how dare you, you racists? They have more right to live in this country than you do. Yeah, exactly. It's not the far right that's going out and doing all these things to kids, is it? Let's be honest. And again, like I said, I'll proudly be called far right if people think it's far right to not want to let fuckers like that in your country. But yeah, and again, like I keep saying, so again, this government would rather spend all the money housing people like that than actual homeless people in this country. Yeah, like you said, John, the Overton window has shifted so far to that side that anybody with any brain cells is far right now. Yeah, well, they came to me before because that sad fucker reported me over the radioactive stuff because he doxed me, and then he reported me because I don't know, he like wanted to blackmail me for something. I can't even remember what the specifics of it were, but it was basically like, oh, I hope the police shoot him. Yeah, I've been exactly I've been found guilty of hate speech. Like I said, there was a reason I did join the Free Speech Union, which I would recommend that most people in the UK join if they post anything online at this point. Because let me put that little pin on my shirt. There we go. But yeah, I'd recommend most people join the Free Speech Union because, like I said, you probably do want some legal representation offered to you if you lose your job or get banged up for saying something sensible online, which is now, because again, it's dangerous to tell the truth when the government tells lies, isn't it? So, like I said, Grey Man, at the end of it, I wasn't charged with anything. The police realised their time was being wasted. And the good thing about being doxxed, like I've said before to people, the good bit about being doxxed is when your name and address and all that's been put on the internet anyway, if anybody ever offers you to send something where you previously have been like, don't know if I trust you enough to send me something, I just say, yeah, to people now. I'm like, well, my name and address is out there anyway. So if you want to send me a freebie to do a video on or whatever, go ahead because, I've been doxxed. So that was a good bit about it. Yeah, probably, Kevin. I know with one of the other illegal immigrant rapists slash, violent criminals, they gave them fucking citizenship after they committed their crime. I can't remember why it was, but they came up with some fucking stupid reason that, oh, we better give them British citizenship now they've committed a crime like that. We'll put them in prison for a bit, like for like 2 years or something, despite the severity of their crime, and then we'll let them out. You can have British citizenship, and then I guess we'll have to give them, a council house and all of these benefits and whatever else. I don't even know what LLMs are. What language learning models or something like that? Is that like an AI thing? I don't know about him specifically, Saint, but I know he went really. Yeah, I've got loads of GP5s, but I don't know if he got done specifically because I won't go into all of it, Saint. But obviously, after that happened, I contacted the police when he was boasting about it online and said, "Look, this guy is the one wasting your time and trying to maliciously use the police, for that sort of stuff." And I know he went quiet for a bit after that, but one of his mates got done for being a nonce. So one of his mates later on got arrested for like little boy child porn slash, oh sorry, child sex abuse material. We should never call it child porn because there's nothing pornographic about that stuff. But yeah, one of his mates got done for like videos of little boys being like raped and tortured and stuff like that. Yeah, you said you're from Iran before. I remember from before. Um, like I said, I was showing the Shum 2012 earlier, and there's a GP5M. But yeah, I've got loads of the GP5 sort of variant masks. Again, I've just got videos up on all of them. Can't really show them all during the stream. But yeah, but it says like the caliber of these sort of people, doesn't it? When, yeah, of course they'd be fucking nonsense, these sort of people. Again, it's, like I said, it's like when you have all the people that constantly go on about how much they hate gays online, and then it turns out they're the most like disgusting, like closeted, weird freaks, possible. So they make regular gay people's lives miserable, and then it turns out that, yeah, they're kiddie fiddlers and whatever else, because it's always projection with these sort of people. Because a regular person doesn't really give a shit if people are gay or whatever. Like, I couldn't care less, in all honesty, if somebody's gay or not, as long as it's between consenting adults. I do not give a shit. But I just always find it funny that the kind of people that bring this shit up nonstop are the ones that have the worst possible skeletons in their closet. I've already been into that last stream, and then you start posting again. Trump certainly hasn't helped Iran, But like I said, I'm not a fan of the Ayatollah. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, but like I said, it's with all these things. Whenever you get people that are very, very anti, adults doing what they want, it's always people that are fucking weird, closeted, perverts. I've never seen like a healthy, well-adjusted adult be a homophobe. Let's just put it that way. So LLM is language learning model. It's what YouTube uses to censor comment. Interesting. Although they've been doing the comment censoring thing for probably over a decade at this point. Yeah. Just walk away. Give us your oil. Yeah, the Lord Humongous. But yeah, anyway, should we talk about something that's not as depressing as that? I don't know which one of your subscribers is, Stalker. What, like Shamshirs, or whatever they're called, Devon? I don't have one, but I know the old sword you mean, if you mean like the really old-looking saber, the Shamshir, whatever it is. Some of the actual M17 accessories will work on the M10M. Well, more on the old M10, not the M10M, because the M10M's got the bulkier drinking tube bit. Some of the accessories don't fit on it. But you can, what was I going to say? You can have, I don't get what Rajiv's on about with his puppy. Oh, what, is this Mad Max 2? Well, yeah, no, they're obsolete calibers. Yes, I've got a Schmidt Rubin. Like I said, I've still got the Schmidt Rubin. I like it a lot, but I can't show it you on the stream because YouTube doesn't let you show guns on the stream. Don't recognize the name, no. Again, lots of channels that have changed their names over the years. I don't fucking know if they commented or not. Again, the amount of people that comment on my videos, I only ever remember the people that comment loads, not, people that comment once or twice. But yeah, like I said, so when people complain I'm censoring the comments, is very rare. I delete comments now. You can insult me in the comments. I don't really care too much as long as you're making a point with your comment. It's more that yeah, it's because David, guns of that era were like the massive old musket lengths, because they didn't really realize until a bit later on that you didn't need rifles to be that long, especially once it came to smokeless propellants. But yeah, but what was I going to say? Is that an Uwe Boll movie, that Far Cry Saint, or is it somebody else that did it? Yeah, Van Pelt's elephant gun. Although that's actually just a Winchester shotgun mocked up to look like an elephant gun. But so the Grey Man says, if the military has an allegiance to the crown and the military numbers are getting low, what will happen if the military is removed? I don't get what you mean. The military isn't going to get completely removed in the UK, even if the military gets smaller and smaller. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, Stabby. But yeah, like I was saying, a lot of the time with YouTube, people think I'm censoring comments. And it's not me doing it. It's basically where what was I going to say? That like I said, where there'll be a little keyword in their comment that means YouTube shadow bans the comment, and then people have a go at me for it. Like I said, I only really block comments if somebody's being argumentative without making a point. Because again, if somebody wants to be argumentative but they're actually making good points, I don't mind because it's just a different opinion. But when people are just being like, "Oh, you are a retard, fuck you," kind of thing, then I block them because they're obviously not contributing anything. Or, like I said, if people keep, after I told them not to, posting illegal stuff, because I don't want to get in fucking trouble because somebody wants to keep talking about illegal stuff in the comments. And again, weirdly, when people post outright illegal stuff in the comments, they seem to come through. But when people are talking about something slightly spicy, it's often hidden. Nah, there's no point. I don't like the Charlie Chaplin looking moustache. The Adolf moustache. It's not a very good tash. Like, if you have a tash, why wouldn't you grow it to this length anyway? Or like, proper handlebar or whatever else. Again, with gas masks, I can't really have it any bigger than this. I normally like trim it to where my lips are like that, because that way it doesn't get in the way of oral nasal cups. But yeah, I'm not a massive fan of like the little toothbrush moustache. Like, I'd much rather have a Stalin-y sort of moustache than that sort of moustache. I've heard that, but Hitler didn't have that tash in World War One, so I don't think that's relevant. If you see pictures of Hitler in World War One, his tash is kind of like that. Got any other new things? Other than this dagger, I've shown a few times in the streams. That's about it, because at the moment I can't really afford to, because like I said, because YouTube is my only job at the moment until I find something else to do, I have to be very careful spending my money. And like I said, I have ordered, but it hasn't arrived yet, but I think it's due in the next few days, because I did get a tracking update on it. The mirrored outsert for my CT12. So I'm going to fit that to the CT12 and just keep, sorry, not the CT12, the C50. So I'm going to keep that on the C50 once it arrives. But like I said, at the moment, because like I said, I have to be really careful with my money, because obviously YouTube, the amount I earn on YouTube per month goes up and down depending on how well certain videos are doing. So I have to be really careful what I'm spending. Well, it's new. It's an old Renaissance style design, but obviously it's windlass steelcraft that make it in India. Because yeah, good luck getting a real Renaissance dagger for about £100. It's got a proper tang and everything, so you know, it's really solid. It's gonna have no issues with stuff like that. But yeah, this was like, you know, the cheapest you can go for a practical like what would you call it, like parrying dagger, fork dagger. Just under 100 quid, Zach. Again, I don't know if YouTube lets me state where I bought it, because they get funny about stuff like that now. But it was about £80 to £90 with tax, and then the sharpening fee on it was about £10 plus postage. So it might have come to just over 100 in total. But again, you know, like I said, the actual price of the dagger on its own wasn't that much. But like I said, obviously, I wanted a sharpening service done on it, because all the windlass stuff comes blunt, so it can be used for reenactments. And then, you know, you can sharpen it up if you want it as a weapon. But obviously, with all mine, I want them to be practical blades. Again, I can sharpen stuff up myself, but it's a bit of a ball ache, and I can never do it as well as, you know, like the proper people that do sharpening services like that. Because, again, like I said, I have got blades I've put an edge onto, like, just to show you, because it was a blunt reenactor's blade on this one. When I got this cheap saber briquette, I've started putting an edge on this, but it's one of those things, you know, I put a bit more of an edge on it now and again, then, you know, don't, you know. Again, it's not uniformly sharp all the way along, because it's quite difficult sharpening a sword of this size, but it does have an edge on it enough now that it would actually chop into stuff, where before it was just a blunt edge. Nearer the tip, I've got the edge better, because it's easier to sharpen it near the tip, but this was blunt when I got this one. But like I said, I've not done like loads of sharpening on it in one go. I just sort of do a bit now and again, you know, make the edge a bit finer. Cool. Like I said, I got the dagger like that because I watched V for Vendetta recently, Devon, and I really wanted a V for Vendetta style dagger. Again, that's a bit bigger than the one V has in V for Vendetta, and the grip's a bit different, but it's basically the same style parrying daggers. It does, Kevin, but they're ordered to pick up the boats. So what happens is, a lot of the time, they float their little boats into the channel, they cut the engines and go, "Oh no, save us from drowning." I don't know when their accents are like that. The one I use, Zach, is basically, I don't have one of the things where you can set an angle on it. I've got a thing that's designed for generic kind of kitchen knives, one of the sharpeners, if I'm not doing it via a whetstone, just doing it on the side like that. And I find on most blades that are like military style blades, the kitchen knife kind of edge works fine for them, because again, they are designed for cutting. But again, if you were doing it on a really big sword, you probably wouldn't want that. But again, like I said, that's why I don't like really doing sharpening other than this kind of thing. And again, like I said, I know lots of people don't like these sort of things for knives and that. I personally don't care. But like I said, I wouldn't put a really nice historical knife, wouldn't sharpen them with one of these. But for just like replica blades, I don't really care. But yeah, so what ends up happening, Kevin, is they cut their engines and say, "Help us, we're going to drown," or whatever. Or a fishing boat says, "Oh look, there's people struggling in the water," and then the Coast Guard or the the lifeguards go out. What they called the They're not called lifeguards, are they? What are they called? The fucking Royal you guys should, the lifeboats, that's it. They call up the lifeboats essentially, and then they have to pick them up and take them in. And then, as soon as they take them in, they're given all fresh clothes and fresh food and get a medical screening and whatever else. But again, like we've been saying, this is a point Asmongold brings up in his video, because out of nowhere, like the meme, and all of a sudden Hitler came into power. The more and more this is happening, the more people's attitudes are going from turn back the boats to sink the boats. And like I said, I'm not going to give you my opinion on it because I'm on YouTube and hate speech and all that in this country. But I've talked to some very mild-mannered, like old women and stuff like that, who are like, "Just shoot the fuckers," And like I said, people are getting angrier and angrier here, especially that those sort of fucking people we have to pay for go on to rape and murder and whatever else. Because as much as there might be some good people among them, a lot of them are fucking scum. And yeah, they're put up in hotels at our expense. They're fed at our expense. They get a lot of things that regular British people can't afford because the economy is so shit, and it's so shit because we're paying for people like this. And then yeah, they thank us for it by raping and murdering, or dealing drugs and whatever else. And yeah, more and more people are coming to more extreme opinions on what should be done with these people. And like I said, it is literally the meme of and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Hitler came along. Why do you think that happened? Yeah, and this is the sort of thing. Yeah, I've got whetstones, Peppy. Like I said, I've got whetstones. I've got quite a lot of different things. But again, it depends on the type of blade I'm doing. Like I said, for a very nice blade, so like say I want to sharpen up this, I normally do that with a proper sharpening steel thing, like you do on a chef's knife, or a whetstone, and just do it along the edge by hand at an angle over and over and over. My name is Liam. Liam. Irish shortened version of William. There you go. Oh, I nearly rammed that into my computer then. But yeah, depending, like I said, depending on the blade, if it's a cheapo blade that has no historical significance, I normally use a sharpener like this, as long as it's good enough to do that, and just use one of these to keep the blade sharp. If it's, like a good historical type blade, I do a much better job sharpening, or I don't even bother risking sharpening it. But like I said, for me, these are good. These type of sharpeners are good for most cheap, like, pocket knife type things, because, if a pocket knife eventually goes, I'm just going to bin it anyway. Probably too much money saying again. Like I said, once I'm back from Leeds, when I go to Leeds quite soon, I won't say the exact dates because I don't ever like saying to people when I'm not going to be around this, just because, like I said, I have been doxxed. I'm going to start selling off some of the bits. Again, I am going to keep a lot of stuff, but I want to get rid of some stuff to get a bit of money and, clear up a load of clutter. And I don't know yet exactly what stuff I'm going to list and not list. I'm live on YouTube right now, so I don't get what you mean that. Do you live from YouTube? What do you mean, like, do I earn money from YouTube enough to live off of it? Oh, I think that cut's stop bleeding now. It's coming. At the moment, yes, but it's not reliable enough. So, like I said, for most of my adult life, I've obviously worked, like 20 to 40 hours a week, depending on what's available with work. But the thing is, like I said, YouTube, I enjoy doing YouTube a lot more than I would doing a 9 to 5. I have an eBay account, but I'm certainly not going to list it here, Devon. Because obviously then people with bad intentions will bid on stuff and then not pay for it, or say it didn't arrive. Whatever. So, yeah, unfortunately, even though I have an eBay, I'm not going to say what the account name is on YouTube, because that will lead to a load of people using it to, fuck with me. So I don't know if I'd want to do a mill surplus shop, because again, I don't think I'd want to deal with the public. I'd like if money wasn't an object, I'd like to have a museum, like just a private collection museum people could go around, open it up somewhere, and just, you know, have it as a free one for people to go around, or have the money go to like a veterans charity or something like that. And then, you know, you could just go and look at things in display cabinets, like, you know, loads of gas masks in a display cabinet or whatever. I'd rather do that, but money is an object, sadly. The real world is, you know, the real world doesn't let nice things happen for the most part. Yeah, lots of preppers into gold and silver. Like I said, I'm not particularly into it. But yeah, gold and silver are good for holding their value and appreciating, you know, because again, I trust money invested into gold a lot more than I would in your regular bank account, where, sorry, we're going to seize your fiat currency because you're a right-wing fuck. But well, yeah, speaking of yard sale though, Stalker, the best sort of place how I'd like to sell a lot of my stuff is a bit like that military fair like I went to a while ago, because there you can just basically do it as sold as seen at a certain price. So, you know, people can pick stuff up, they can look at it, and they can decide if they want to buy it or not. And then you're not going to have the problem that somebody looks at a listing, buys it, and then whinges later on that, oh, this wasn't exactly as you described it, so I want a full refund, and I also don't want to return your item for you. At some point, he'll be out at number 10, but like I said, he's clinging around like a turd that won't flush. And his latest thing is, he said, after surviving, sorry, that wasn't the quote. He says, I will never walk away from the country that I love. So basically what Starmer is saying is that he's basically doing a suicide, you know, like murder-suicide of the country. You're going with me. Let's end this together. You know, again, he doesn't love this country. He fucking despises this country and the people that live in it. Otherwise, he wouldn't rule the way he's ruled. I can't remember if we've got... I know the Bank of England does have some gold. I wouldn't call Starmer a fascist. I wouldn't call him a socialist either. I'd call him a like a, you know, a globalist, whatever. Well, he's a Fabian, actually, isn't he? He is literally a member of the Fabian Society. So, yeah, he's a Fabian. That's the word we should use for him. A wolf in sheep's clothing. Somebody saying, do I have wife and kids? No, I don't have wife and kids. I don't think most women would want to put up with this shit. But no, don't have wife and kids. I wouldn't have kids, like I've said lots of times, because I have a few genetic things that would pass on to children. I would not want to have kids and risk them having, you know, various genetic defects that are going to fuck their lives up, because I don't think that's fair. I personally think if you've got, you know, hereditary things you can pass on to your kids, I think it's unfair to have kids, because you're dooming somebody else at that point. Well, like I said, just get some gold and silver and put it in a safe somewhere. Yeah, you like Sherlock saying, yeah, like in Metro, I think the system where people barter ammo is quite realistic. Like ammo is used as a trading thing. But yeah, in a thing is with gold and silver is intrinsically worth a lot more than thing. But like I said, in a really bad apocalyptic scenario, I think food and things like that would be worth a hell of a lot more than gold and silver, because you can't eat gold and silver. No, getting more shelves wouldn't solve this problem, because again, look at those shelves there, and I've got, again, industrial racking in one of the rooms over there. There's only so much you can fit on it. This pile is that far back to the wall, and it's that high up off the ground. So no, the shelving would take up more room than that fixes. Like I've said lots of times, that if I could start like, you know, from a fresh thing, I would get loads of racking and I'd put everything neatly on racking. The problem is that you can't do that when you're already in a situation where you've got a load of stuff. That's why I said, that's why I'm just going to start selling stuff. What's a CM6M? I don't think I own a CM6M. I don't even own that mask. So you're on about a Myra one that isn't even called that. And I don't own that mask anyway, so I can't sell a mask I don't own. A compulsive accumulator, what do you mean, a hoarder? I don't know, I just find it interesting. Again, why do people collect anything? Again, like, there are some people I know that own absolutely nothing of interest. You know, they have rooms in their house that are like a bed, a desk with a computer on, maybe a bookshelf. And again, that's a very clean, tidy room, but there's nothing in it. Well, what I am saying, Y3N1X, is that if I am personally, I think it is selfish if you have a disease you would pass on to your kids. I don't see what is offensive about that or disagreeable about that. I think if somebody knows that they've got some sort of genetic fault that they will pass on to their kids, I think they are a selfish prick if they don't have children. Like, personally, that is my opinion. Like, again, I know it's different if the parent doesn't know they've got something, but personally, I do not think it is a nice thing if you know you've got a disability that is going to severely impact a kid's life, and you know pretty much they're guaranteed to be born with it, and then you say, let's have kids. Again, it might sound like a Nazi eugenics thing to say, oh, people with horrible disabilities shouldn't have kids, but, as somebody with certain disabilities myself, I think it would be a horrible thing to pass those on. Right, you're just here to be a prick, aren't you? Goodbye. Yeah, again, so, yeah, you're getting to the... Fuck's sake. Again, I don't know why I even bother talking to people like that, because it's kind of weird, isn't it? You can say, I'm in this situation myself, and I personally don't want to do it, and then they're like, oh, so you hate all disabled people, and you think disabled people shouldn't have kids. But, yeah, I think if you have disabilities severe enough, you really need to think hard about having kids, because, again, there's an expression. I know I've got rid of that person, but again, it's because they're a fucking weirdo. But there's an expression that you've probably heard, and it's a very good expression, that it's all children deserve parents, but not all parents deserve children. And again, there are so many children born into shitty situations where, again, like, I'm not going to come up with a list like a eugenicist of saying, these people are allowed to have the children because their disabilities are not that bad, but these ones, they're on the lower tier list, so they can have to be sterilized. But, like I said, I've got things that I know if I passed on to kids, it would make their lives fucking miserable. And I don't see why I should be then forced to have children. Yeah, if someone is just ginger, yeah. I mean, the thing is with ginger, if they pass it on to daughters, they're fit redheads and it's all right. But yeah, if you're a ginger boy, then people take the piss out of you. So you'd have to selectively choose what children to have if you're ginger. That's my little nasty joke back to you. Again, it depends on what the quality of life's going to be like, isn't it? But, personally, I wouldn't. The thing is, like, again, with how bad, if I'm in the UK as well, how bad the economy is, I couldn't afford to look after kids. Like I said, even if I wanted to adopt, I don't see how I could afford it, even if I had a partner and all that. And even if I wasn't collecting any of the shit like this, I just don't see how I could afford it. Because, again, this is why people aren't even having kids anymore over here. It's because of how much money it takes to bring up a child properly. And then, how fucked people are economically in this country. I don't have an SGE, so I can't comment on them. I've heard they're good. But yeah, like I'm saying, I do know people that when we're going back to, like, who don't collect anything or whatever, and I do kind of wonder what they do with their spare time. Because, like, again, one of my mates, I play online games and that with him, but his house is, like, sterile as anything. And he's one of those people that complains about me and other people. Who's like, well, you've got so much shit in your house and all that. But it's like you literally don't have any collectibles, any kind of... I just kind of wonder what he does with his time, But, like, nearly all of my friends at least are into collecting something, or, like, working on stuff, even if they keep it to a sensible amount. Like, one of my friends liked fixing up guitars. So he'd always have a load of guitars, and then would, like, work on them and then sometimes resell them or keep some of the ones he really liked. Yeah, sadly, like I said, in the SGs, I've never seen them for sale in the UK. No, Greyman, it depends, because if you're splitting the breathing load between two filters, they both degrade at about the same rate. So, but yeah, one of my mates, is what I'm saying, Roger, he doesn't look after any plants other than playing games and watching films. I don't know what he actually does in his spare time. I think this is why he probably enjoys his job so much, because he's probably one of those people. And I mean, this is great if you are one of those people that really enjoys just actually working. And so, he'd rather work as many hours per week as possible and get as much money per week, but then he doesn't really spend it on anything. I don't think he's painted his house in years. So he probably doesn't like watching paint dry. Like I said, I think for him, he's just one of those people that really enjoys his job. So he probably, likes to work as many hours per week as possible, and then just play some games and that in the spare time. And then he doesn't have time or whatever to collect any of this. But again, like I said, he's one of those people that he's saving up all his money, but he has no intention of moving out from where he lives or, buying it. And again, even where he works so many hours, like most people in the UK, the rate that houses go up per year is way higher than he could save up and get a mortgage anyway. All right, John. Oh, have you got a guy wearing an S6 and like a Mark IV helmet in your picture? It's a bit small, but it looks a bit like that. We were on about Mark IV, like Mark III, Mark IV, and Mark V helmets earlier. Okay, I have bought from Commando Store before with one of my Scott masks that was an ex-US police mask. The one that's got the two eyepieces, like the Finnish one. I don't know, he's nice to play games with, and he's very politically incorrect. But like I said, he just doesn't collect anything or do anything like that. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I was right about your profile picture. Again, the only problem is because they're so small on YouTube, I'm like kind of squinting it like, that looks a bit like an S6, but I can't tell. Yeah, again, I can't afford one this month, the Commando Store one, but like I said, Commando Store do ship to the UK. I know that for a fact. So let me see if I can find that gas mask on their website. Their prices, for some reason, on Commando Store now are actually in pounds. That's interesting. Let me search SGE. Let me just search gas mask and see. So they've got police trade in MSA Millenniums, kind of want an MSA Millennium. And they've got the SGE is 186, so that's quite expensive. Yeah, that's sort of out of my price range for now. But I am tempted. I'm going to bookmark it. And if they've still got the serviceable after payday police trade in MSA Millenniums, I imagine they've gone a bit orange, some of them. I'm quite tempted maybe to get an MSA Millennium, because you never see them for sale over here. Like I said, I've got an MCU2P, which is like the older one. Yeah, most of them on there at the moment are Kevin, are showing up for like £380, so like well over $400, and that's before you put any shipping prices and tax onto it. But yeah. Anyway, I'll be off in a minute. But yeah, like I said, so that was a very strange thing, the guy saying, like, oh, you must be some eugenicist because you've got a disability and you don't want to pass it on. Like, no, I'd say that's being fucking responsible. That, but again, there are a lot of people as well that have fucking kids they can't look after, and then those kids grow up in a horrible environment as well. So, yeah, don't get me fucking started on people that, like spam out kids because they can't keep their legs closed or whatever, and then the kids have a shit quality of life. Because like I said, my opinion on it, like I said, is all children deserve parents, but not all parents deserve a child. Because, yeah, there are certainly, like I said, certainly people that really should not be parents. What, the MSA Millennium gas mask? Yeah, I wouldn't want to get a second-hand fetish one. Oh, don't mind the stains on the mask. It was just from a bit of role play. So, yeah, that was why when I got some East German jack boots, I made sure I was buying them from just somebody who was like a generic like surplus seller, and not one of the ones like Leather Daddy 4256, which were only ever selling secondhand fetish gear. Because I was like, yeah, I don't want some dodgy secondhand jack boots that have been spunked all over. Ulcerative colitis, autism, asthma, eczema, some other kind of things I won't go into. But yeah, so, but again, like I said, colitis is one of those things that, again, if you knew you could have kids and they wouldn't have it, or they'd only get a very mild version of it, that's fine. But if you knew your kids were going to get bad colitis or Crohn's disease that would lead to them having to have, what's the word for it? Like when you have to stoma bag put in, when you have your colon cut out. But that's a very real risk as like one of the things. It also leads to anemia and lots of problems like that. So again, and like autism is one of those ones where if you know, if the kid gets autism and they live in a country where they're not bullied for it, but then if they're severely autistic, that's kind of just like hell on earth for the child, in my opinion. You know, so it's just one of those things where there's so many things wrong with me at this point, that, you know, I just would not want to say, you know, because it's kind of like rolling a dice and hoping to get a 1 out of the 6 that would land. Canal boat outside Leeds. I'm going up to Leeds soon, but yeah, as long, yeah, so you had to very thoroughly sterilize it, yeah. Again, if it was some cute naked golf girls in these gas masks, I wouldn't mind so much, but you know, I'm more worried about is that the one that has a little parachute that comes out of it? Let me have a quick look before I go off. RG4 grenade. No, that isn't the parachute one I was thinking of. Because there's a Soviet one that has like a parachute that comes out when you throw it. So it, I think it gives you more time to get away from the grenade. That's a weird looking grenade. Literally looks like kind of a tin. Grenade RG4. Made for United Arab Republic, marked RG4 Arabic writing. It's a Soviet blast hand grenade. The RG4 comprised of a cylindrical steel tube slightly longer than it was broad, packed with 105 grams of TNT and fitted with an impact fuse. The RG4 had an effective radius of 13 meters and a typical hand-thrown range of 35 meters, so in theory you can throw it, you know, about 3 times as far as where it blows up and kills you, or at least twice as far. Fragmentation sleeve could be fitted, which provided an effective radius of 25 meters from the point of detonation. RG4 grenades were used by the South African guerrilla forces. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Again, I like the grenades where, like it says, you can have like you could put a, you know, like a fragment sleeve on it, because then you can have it more as a HE grenade, or like, yeah, you can put the sleeve on it and have it as a yeah, frag grenade. It says it's Soviet on there, but again, the Czechs and like, you know, Hungary and everybody else in the Warsaw Pact either directly used copies of the Soviet stuff or made their own very similar to Soviet stuff to get around paying the Soviets a license fee for it. Yeah, always wrap it before you tap it, Peppy. That is always a good bit of advice. Yeah, well, like I said, a lot of the other rooms in the house don't look like this. This is like my storage room for all the surplus. Like I said, in the other rooms, it's actually on shelves. This is the thing. Anything in the other rooms gets put on fucking shelves. But yeah, it's just this room, like I said, because this used to be my bedroom before I moved because of like noise reasons. So I moved into the room next door, and that's actually quite neat and tidy, that room. But yeah, this particular room, like I said, this is the messy room because this is just where the old bed frame serves as a piling point, you know, because the bed frame stops most of the stuff from falling off, so it just piles up vertically. But it does mean if you want to find something that's lower in the pile, it's a lot of work. There's still a pinfire revolver, and an antique pinfire revolver that fell down the back of that bed frame, and I've never got it out yet. I need to actually, yeah, like you said, it's the Escher's surplus by origin, but yeah. Yeah, you've got the RGD5, Kevin, haven't you, which is really underpowered. It's like we have M69 at home. But then you've got the F1s that the Soviets had, which, again, the Ruskies didn't come up with this thing. I think it's French, isn't it, originally, the F1? Good for you, Mason. But yeah, but you've got this fucker, which is, whoops, this kills you at 50 meters or whatever it is because of how fucking overpowered this grenade was. Yeah, I'm definitely going to Royal Armouries. But yeah, one of my mates has been there a few times because I'm staying with some mates up in Leeds. And yeah, again, I don't know if I can even show this on a live stream without YouTube giving me a strike. because they're very funny about guns, but they haven't ever mentioned grenades. But I don't know if the algorithm would. But yeah, the F1. So the weird thing with the Soviets is like, yeah, as I am going to go off in a minute. But as Kevin said, so you had the RGD-5, which is like, yeah, kind of like a little explosion, and then you have the F1 grenade, which is like a little mini nuke kind of thing. Is it actually up to 100 meters? I know from grenade drop videos in Ukraine, they frag people from absolutely really far away. And I know it's supposedly no human being in the open can throw the F1 grenade further than it would actually kill you. You know, that's why it's a defensive grenade. You have to throw it from, you know, inside a pillbox, or if you're in a trench, over the top of a trench or whatever. But yeah, supposedly it is one of those grenades where now and again it gets used in places and people get killed by their own grenades because, you know, guy throws grenade about 20 odd meters, F1 frags them because it's way bigger than that. But like I said, F1s are cool because they are very, very powerful grenades. It's deactivated, sadly, like I said, because of YouTube policies, and I'm in Britain. Like I said, I was also talking about stick grenades earlier. Again, not a cool German one. This is just the Hungarian stick grenades. They work in a very similar way, though. But I don't know. I think this was the timed version, because they did a timed version and an impact version of this. But yeah. That was the original detonation mechanism. Like I said, then you had the screw-on head where the spring-powered thing would have fired a percussion cap upwards and all that. But yeah, well, yeah, the reason they have few shrapnels is because, again, it's the old style of cutting the case into the shape, isn't it? Whereas that's why, like, an M69 grenade has, like, the tiny, like, things all around it, doesn't it? So again, if you made something that had the explosive amount of filler of an F1 grenade, but it had a case more like the US M69, that would be stupidly lethal. But yeah, again, the shrapnel was still going to go in about a 360 degree, or maybe not 360 degree, but you know, like a cylinder around this thing when it goes off. And yeah, you're still not going to want to be in that radius. Because I imagine that but there was a video I saw with slow motion the other day where they tested a pineapple grenade, like a US, whatever the US World War II grenade was. And yeah, even though the shrapnel in theory was much bigger bits of shrapnel than the M69 grenade, it still did do a massive radius around it. So if you were around that grenade, you were still going to get hit by something, even if it was a, you know, less uniform coverage, you were still going to get fragged. Yeah, it was quite a good slow motion video. I didn't watch all of it. I skipped through it. But they did an M69 grenade, and they did, yeah, I think it was a US, yeah, Mark II. And there's the British Mills bomb as well. It wasn't in that video, but that's pretty similar. The British Mills bomb, which is like the chunky World War I, World War II British grenade. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm on about, Hattie. But yeah, that would have been the video I was on about. Like I said, even though they're cut like this, those bits tend to break into smaller pieces, don't they? But it's just that, yeah, it's how they work. They're like less uniform, these sort of grenades, when they explode. And again, I think it's designed so they're always pieces of this size or smaller as they break up. But yeah, you would not want to be in a radius of one of these type of grenades when it goes off. They're still going to fucking rip you to pieces. And again, if you've ever seen the videos, like I said, not that I'm recommending people watch this because of YouTube policies, you know, grenade drops in Ukraine, you'd be amazed at how far Mobics get torn apart by like one of these type of grenades being dropped by a drone. You know, sometimes they can be like 30 meters away and you still see them go and, you know, rolling around in pain. Some of the videos are quite cool because you actually see the shrapnel from a grenade drop, like hitting a vehicle or a wall, and you can actually see, even though you can't see in the speed of it, you can see obviously all the little impacts. Because in one of them, there was like a burnt out BMP or something. I can't remember. It was one of the Soviet vehicles. I can't remember if it was BMP or a BMD or whatever now, or BRDM. But, you know, it was one of the Soviet little armored vehicles. And you could see how many sparks came off of it, you know, in all different areas where obviously, you know, each one of those sparks is a little bit of shrapnel hitting the side of the vehicle. So yeah, the Mobic was between the vehicle and the, you know, grenade, and the Mobic got minced. And obviously, yeah, the vehicle looked looked like, you know, it had been hit by like 100 to 200 bits of shrapnel. There are also ones that, you know, like you see where there's like they're near concrete walls and you see loads and loads of little puffs come up from the concrete wall. So yeah, so like I said, I did do a video on grenades earlier, so please watch it if you haven't watched it, because that hasn't got many views actually today. I even made a high effort clickbaity thumbnail on it with like a little explosion going off. But yeah, it's not had many people watch it yet, but it's again an explanation on different types of grenades, because I had rifle grenades in it too. So I had this thing in it. Can't remember which country this is from actually. It's one of the Eastern European countries, but like one of the Warsaw Pact ones, but I can't remember which one it was. I don't think it's Yugoslavia, this one. But yeah. So please watch the video, give it a like. Anyway, I will be off now because I've been on quite a while. And I need to go get some din-dins. So, yeah, because again, if you knew grenades like that were going off of all the shrapnel, you're going to want to go down to ground, aren't you, Sherlock? You're not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to advance, hoping that the next one misses me as well. Yeah, det cord sounds fun. Again, with YouTube, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about all this stuff, but det cord does sound like you could do fun stuff with it. Is it det cord that they fire off some of those like mine clearing vehicles where it like fires into the distance and then it explodes all the way along the cord and clears the mines in a line from where like the cord blew up? Because I know there is one of the ways that they clear mines by doing that, isn't there? By firing like an explosive line. Because I know when Russia was using those against Ukraine, rather than using them to clear minefields, they were blowing up civilian buildings in Mariupol with them. And then, oh no, when they ran into the mines, they didn't have anything. But serves them fucking right for blowing up civilians with them. You know, terrorizing civilians by hitting them with those fucking mine thrower vehicles. But again, no, my mum's gone to football with my dad. I don't find football interesting at all. I don't give a shit about it. But let's have a look. Can't even remember what I was going to look up now. Oh yeah, I was going to look up Russian losses in Ukraine. What's the current numbers at? Because even if you think the Ukraine numbers are high, the numbers are still fucking awful. Military personnel, 1.24 million at this point. And it could stop tomorrow if Monkey just walked away. But no, he wants to be the fucking Tsar. And yeah, Russia isn't going to fucking recover from this for like 100 years for how many... Again, their demographics were shit as it was, and he's just accelerated this by, oh, imperialist war. You can search how the check RG4 grenade works. It's just stupid. Hang on, let me have a look. Check RG4. And then I'll go off. Oh, like the one you on about earlier, fuse and activation. I'll have to have a look a bit later. Like I said, I am going off now. I've been on long enough. And I'm hoping Keir Starmer gets ousted at some point soon, but I bet that fucker, like I said, is going to take everyone else with him. I am not leaving no matter what. I am in my Starmer bunker. And they'll send the stormtroopers after anyone that says I should go. Get me the rent boys delivered to the Storm bunker. But yeah, he's there's literally a video that's popped up in my recommended 48 minutes ago. Starmer clings on, but for how long? And there's that picture of him like in the car where he looks like he's been drained by a vampire, or he's getting his he looks like he's just busted a nut into a little rent boy, because we know he likes those, allegedly. Okay, so they're more powerful than standard det cord, are they? But anyway, like so, I do need to go because I've got some messages to respond to and I haven't had dinner. What do I think about nuclear weapons? I think they're fucking cool, is my answer to that. The Castle Bravo test, if you watch that, is amazing. So just before I go off, if you haven't seen it, watch Trinity and Beyond. And Trinity and Beyond is not some weird, like, creepy kids thing, because I did see some creepy kids thing that had the same name. Trinity and Beyond, the atomic bomb movie, is voiced by Shatner, and it's like a really creepy orchestral score with lots of slow motions and nukes going off. It's really, really good. And it makes you just appreciate the power of the atom. I love the Castle Bravo sequence in Trinity and Beyond. Just watching it go. Yeah, Mason, if you want to ask your question, you need to ask it right now. Because you've got like 15 seconds to answer your question. Devon, I'm just off. You've got like 15 seconds, Mason, to ask your question, or else I'm gone. Because like I said, I was going off. So you've got the last bit. You need to ask a question. And like I've said to people, never say, I have a question. Just ask the question. Don't say, I have a question, and then wait to type out the question. If you've got a question, just say the question. Oh, I've got some messages that say they're hidden. Oh, what mask is it on my profile picture? It's the MM1, isn't it? It's that one. MM1. It used to be, before my profile got hacked and I had to redo a profile picture, it used to be the British Light anti-gas respirator. But the one on the profile picture now is, yeah, it's a zoomed in bit of the MM1. So it's like the eyes and the voice diaphragm of an MM1. Oh, that MM1's even more brown than it used to be now. Yeah, and it's got even more of the, just to show you. Again, I don't know how well this will show up on here, but notice all of the like little kind of leafy looking veins on the rubber as it's just aging and deteriorating. Again, I don't know if that's focusing or not, but yeah, it's a tank crewman's mask. That's why it's got the eyepieces that look completely straight forwards, not at an angle like that, but straight forwards. So you can use it at periscopes and things like that. But yeah, and also the mask is shaped like that, unlike the conventional helmet mask. So if you have the tank crewman's helmet, like hat thing, it goes around it like, you know, so the comms bit connects your ears like that. And the actual tank, so like the top of the tanker's helmet, connects right to where the top of the mask is. They were specifically like made to a shape. Yeah, it's a reproduction of the British PIF helmets from like the Zulu era. Like saying that one's in khaki. I do have a white one somewhere as well, the British ones. But yeah, personally, like I said, I like the big old British PIF helmets because of colonial shenanigans. Of that's a nice country you have there. It would be a shame if something happened to it. Oh yeah, well, YouTube, thankfully, Kevin, is a bit too stupid with their algorithm to count launchers as guns. I wouldn't pick one up on the stream anymore, but that Strella back there, because it just sees it as like a tube. It doesn't really get what it is. But yeah, anyway, I'll be off now. Have a good day, everybody, and might get a chance to do a stream tomorrow. Like I said, I'm trying to stream most days at the moment in the evening, but I don't always know exactly when I'll be on. Depends what's going on. Right. Have a good evening, everybody.